Hi, my name is Candy O'Hara. I am here today to present on communication and what skills I feel are helpful on an interpersonal as well as an outer personal communication. When I say outer personal, I say with the clients in the outside world. Now, to start this class, we did a quiz on our personalities, and I was not terribly surprised by what I found out. I was outgoing. I'm good at being in the boss position. I am good at delegating. I'm good at listening and actually knowing how to fix issues. These are all things that I have known because partially I've been a nurse for a very, very long time, about 10 years now. But I've also been told at work that if someone has an issue, they tend to come find me. One of my coworkers typically will come find me and be like, hey, so-and-so is having a rough day. Can they come to sit with you? Because they know I listen and I don't intervene. I let them say what they have to say before I try to give my opinion. This was not an easy transition for me, however. I, as the oldest child, always was the center of attention, and I could just say, hey, by the way, blah, 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 and I could just break in and nobody would tell me, Candy, you're being rude, stop it, let your sister talk. It's probably part of the reason my sister hates me these days. Nah, I don't know. She says she was always in my shadow. It's not my fault. I just, that's how the family was. But anywho, communication is getting to know somebody on a real level, but it's also getting to know yourself on a real level. Interpersonal communication is when you know how to talk to yourself, how you know how to solve your own problems, how you know what's wrong, how to fix it, and if you can't fix it, how to set it aside so you can look at it a little bit later when your mind's clear and you've had some time to use some hindsight and be like, okay, this is what's going on. This is important because if you don't understand you, how are you going to understand the people you're working with? There is two different forms of communication, verbal and nonverbal. Your nonverbal is eye contact, facial expressions, the way you're standing, if you're crossing your arms over your chest, you have your hands in your pockets, keep checking your phone, looking out the window, staring at the clock on the wall. These all make the client feel like they are not important to you, that you're just there killing time, you got someplace better to be instead of where you're sitting, and they're going to shut down and not want to speak to you anymore. So we need to, as humans, understand this, one, and two, we need to learn how to implement the proper skills so that we don't make people feel unwanted and unsuccessful. Positive nonverbal communication is, again, your posture. You're kind of leaning in, you're nodding, you tilt your head a little bit so you look like you're paying attention. A slight smile, not a frown, not a pursed lips, but just maybe a little smile. You nod while they speak. You want to be able to make eye contact, but not to the point where they feel like you're staring them down and judging them. So if you can sit with your desk or your chair slightly angled, you can look at them and then you can look away and you can, it's more natural for you. So you're not staring out the window, but you're also not staring at them. You're doing a little bit of both. Nonverbal skills for me have always been difficult because I have a very my face makes expressions and I don't always know that it's even doing it. I thought it would get better when I started doing the Botox for non-cosmetic reasons. I'm getting them for migraines, and I thought, this will be helpful. My face will stop making expressions that I'm not trying to do. It didn't help. I still get told frequently that, hey, you're rolling your eyes, or you purse your lips, and and you need to be a little more conscientious of that, so that when speaking to people, they feel that you're paying attention and not judging them. So all those out there who are thinking Botox might help in your professional world because it'll make your face facial expressions not as pronounced, that's wrong. I'm sorry. Now, your verbal communication is share, negotiate, close. This is the focus that I tend to stick with. You allow the patient to share until they are done. You do not intervene. You do not give your opinion. Most of the time when we as listeners intervene during conversation, it's because we don't want to forget what we said. That's the advantage of having a notepad in your lap. You can always just kind of jot down what you're thinking and carry it, and mention it after they finish their speaking. If you interrupt them, they feel like you're not listening. Like, you're trying to discipline one of the children, and the children's like, but mom, you're not listening. This is why we did it. And you're just like, no, and now you're frustrated, and you tend to be harsher on them because you're like, you're not listening to me. This is, so this is the consequences now. Helping a client is the same thing. You have to let them talk and not interrupt because they will feel unheard. The negotiation part on both the professional and the interpersonal are important. This is when you weigh the pros and cons. You talk to yourself or to the client, depending on what stage we're at. Talk to the client. You repeat back what they say. It's not word for word, but enough of the conversation so they know you paid attention. You're like, Mrs. Smith, I understand that you were walking through the house and you fell. Was there something on the floor at that time that caused the fall? And stop. Let her answer the question. That's an open-ended question, and it helps with the negotiation part of the conversation. It gets her to speak more and open up to you more. You can always tell by their nonverbals if they are feeling ready for that stage or not. Closed-ended questions also help in negotiation and the sharing part. If they come in and the client's just all closed off, arms folded, head down, not looking at you, like a teenager would, anybody who's had teenagers understands. Ask them, how did you get here today? Did you walk? Did you take the bus? Did you have a hard time finding my office? These are yes or no questions that lead them to know that you're not prying. You're just there for them. And you continue on with these until you can get to the open-ended questions and get to the root of the problem. It is important for the client or yourself to know that you're open and you're being honest and you can hear them and that you understand what's going on. Building a relationship with trust is what we're trying to do as helpers. And like I said myself, I'm a nurse. It's what I've always done. You have to build the trust before you can go any further in that relationship. So in conclusion, this class has really opened my mind to the way I respond to people, especially my nonverbals, and has taught me how to control myself with those. And I often will take a deep breath before I walk into a room if I know it could be a confrontation. I remind myself that I need to pay attention and just listen. And if I feel myself pursing my lips or feeling like I'm rolling my eyes, I will glance away and then glance back, so that gives me time to collect myself and continue the conversation without the client thinking that I am being rude or ignoring them. So again, thank you so much for this class. It was great help, and I feel that it will definitely help me in my future pursuits. Again, I thank you and have a great weekend.